and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, welcome to our meeting. We just got finished up with a nice work session there. Do I have moving down the item, the list of meeting agenda items? So we'll approve all those.
For the agenda.
Agenda items, thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you, Teresa. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. All right, approval of minutes. See those in your packet. One, two, motion.
I'll move to approve them.
Okay, those are minutes from the September 11th meeting. Have a motion. Second, thank you, Teresa. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All approved. Okay, the high five student month.
So student month, unfortunately, he's such a good student that he has track meet today, even though he is in the district. So we moved it to next month, and his parents said it works for them as well, the 13th. So the parents and he will be here, so we're going to add it to next month.
Yeah, I think cross country still.
That's good reason by then, yeah.
And then high five, or sorry, staff member of the month.
So we don't have one of the month, we have one a little higher order. So we have a staff member of 18 teachers were selected to represent the regions of the 18 regions in the state. And our own Deb Watts was selected as teacher of the region and that's Klamath Falls all the way down to Ashland, the whole bit, it's huge. So,
He was big notice too.
she got,
You did write that in my.
I just heard it.
Right.
and she sent a nice card to the board to recognize her, so make sure you see that. And, you know, she got $1,000, I hit her up for a loan, she said no, so.
Well, it's stakes all around. I did finally, I think the real check's actually coming. I've had the cardboard one in my
I would have went to cash the cardboard.
Well, it can't go to somebody more deserving, I can know that.
Thank you.
So we thank you.
And I really appreciate the nice bouquet and Mr. Johnson coming to the, presenting it. It meant a lot, so thank you so much. Thank you to my administrators and all the support, and Mr. Carter, and all of you, so.
Thank you.
Now, does this mean you're in the running for state?
No, they selected one already.
Yeah.
They went with one from the valley, and they're all this tough time, 18 of them. So they had a whole committee of 32 that select that from the lottery to look at it and all that kind of stuff. And again, I'm biased, I'll tell you that right now, but I also know that they're looking for bigger numbers, unfortunately. It's very, very unusual to get someone from a small community. But if anyone was to do that, it would be you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to good news.
So good news, start off right now. I'd like to go ahead and go with our quarterly report. So Deb's going to fill this up for us and see who's there.
Yes, so I'm on the Labor Relations Board, and we had our first meeting just a few minutes ago, and it went very well. We've really started it last year, and it's been such a great thing, I think, to have staff members' voices and the admin and then the board members. And so we really appreciate that you're allowing us to do this. And just, I have some notes. Normally Kat House is our, she's the president, so she had other obligations, so she left her notes with me tonight. But just to start out with, we've had some comments as far as the 4-day week. And this was done the first 17 days of school. But the comments that we received says we've only been at school 17 days. Students do not seem any more tired now than they do at the beginning of every other year. So we still have those Monday lags and things, but it seems to be coming around pretty well. Student attendance has been great, one teacher said. Another teacher commented, my reading time has a 30-minute writing extension added every day because we're concentrating on writing this year as well as reading. And we did not have a designated writing time in past years, so we're really hoping that writing scores will go up because of this. Our core math has been extended 15 minutes daily to make up for the loss of instruction on Fridays. And so far, only having the students, well, it's been 30 days now, the 40 weeks have been going well overall. And our school has tried to embrace the change and work through the challenges. We've been communicating about things that are working well and how to consolidate the missed Fridays into our 4 days. And we've gotten a lot of extra planning time on those Fridays we do meet, so we're able to coordinate with our teaching partners and able to get, like last Friday, we were able to get our goals done and some things that we normally have to do after school, so that's been a plus. And we also discuss what's not working and try to help solve the issues rather than dwelling on the negative. So those were comments we've had. And then just some issues that came up, and we got some good answers tonight and some solutions that are coming, but one of the things was, especially in the summer and the fall, just the heat in the buildings, not having any air conditioning and how hot the
It
rooms.
was hitting 90 degrees.
Yeah, some of the rooms have been there. So we're hoping for this coming spring and next fall, we can come up with some solutions for that. And let's see, just some other issues we talked about. I know Mr. Carter's going to address the heating and the cooling. And our PERS issue is also going to be addressed. And also, it was clarified, we had there were some teachers kind of uncertain about that day in August, the Thursday, August 29th. And we did find out tonight that it was a paid day for both certified and classified. So I'm
There was an
glad
extra
to know
pay
that.
day this year, because that was the way to cover some of the minutes we try to make up. So I want to make sure the board, and I was using that directive, the board said keep everyone, hold everyone harmless. So that gives us a little bit of flexibility, but we don't want to take advantage of it.
And then the other issue that came up, we were talking a little bit about food sales at school and school activities. And so, again, there's going to be a policy.
Well, the policy's there, we're just going to send out clarifications to explain some of the events, what has to have certified kitchens and what does not, or the food has to be prepped somewhere else. We're going to cover those. To clarify, because there was some confusion in different activities.
And we also had great help from Ann about, it's more of a high school issue. I think the elementary's been fine on our orders, but they've had some problems in the high school with Amazon orders coming in bulk and not specific teachers' names on them, so they're having a long time getting them delivered.
Streamline the Amazon ordering process for business.
And it sounds like the individual teachers can get their own accounts, and then that'll help streamline that and get it.
I hope so, it'll be a start at
Yeah,
least.
so that sounded like a good solution there. And then we just talked a little bit, the issue came up a little bit about the sports, to students missing. And it seems like maybe the volleyball, soccer, a little bit of cross-country time is still, during the week, some of the games.
Some of the games that kids are missing a lot of school, trying to figure out how to make that more efficient.
Will it be easier this year when you're rescheduling?
It should be easier. We did make some adjustments already. One thing that came up in the meeting was that we're playing like neutral sites, like Cascade Christian, a lot of events there, because that will save us some time and not be there as late. But a lot of them don't want to come play here at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and that really kills us as well,
Yeah.
because they want to travel and get home early, which we understand. But we need our kids here to 4 at school, or 3:30. It also messes up PE 7th period, setting up the gym.
And we also had, and again offered a very good solution about just some confusion over the TSA accounts for certain staff members, and talking about getting us together, those of us that are involved in that, and having a session where we can work through have it explained to us, and
We're gonna have an information session with about 47 employees that this will pertain to. So we're looking at not paying the PERS tax or, after December 31st. It'd be their employee's responsibility. We need to explain that to those in effect. If you have any questions, that was a big convoluted one. We have. Is that it?
I think so, yes. We also had some nice food provided by the district for us, and again, I think, I know the students or the teachers at the elementary school really appreciate that we're doing this, because then they're able to bring ideas to us, and then we can.
So the next one's in February, so we appreciate, we had Mr. Howell and Mr. Thornton here. So I know that it was really, the first time in my career, and that's a compliment to all of you, I had all 5 of you want to be here. So you two were already signed up first, so Mr. Chairman, I recommend we get a couple new ones next time. If you guys don't mind.
It was a great meeting to attend. It was.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it because it shows the communication that is actually happening in the district.
And the other option we could have too, if we want all 5, nothing wrong with that, we'd have to make it like a work session. It'd be open, but no decisions made. So that's something you guys make a decision on if you want to have everybody here. It is a good meeting, a lot of information to have. And it might not be a bad idea, especially in negotiation.
For that reason, I think it should be, because when it comes time to negotiating and for us, approving and you approving, it helps if all of us are as informed as possible and all on the same page.
So the board's interested in that wouldn't hurt our feelings at all. I think it's great.
I think by consensus, we can agree to that, without it being on our agenda.
Okay, so it doesn't be an agenda, we can just say consensus. So it will be, make sure you clarify, it'll be a work session with no decision, because you won't be able to do that. And then all we do is you can talk, and then we'll connect it. And I don't think the union's gonna have a problem with that, will they?
No, I think that.
And it's good too, because they buy the next field.
4 o'clock.
Something about
Yeah,
state
three
fair.
extra.
Yeah, so it'll be 4 o'clock in February, we'll get the date.
Sounds good.
That's great, thank you. I think it's great, it's a tribute to the board. All 5 of you want to be here. So.
That's wonderful, I'll pass that on.
Thank you.
Oh, and we've also, I know Kat mentioned there's been some nice collaborations between some of their departments, like the pumpkin patch that was held. So they were several teachers working together.
Good
with
timing,
their
so there it
students.
is. So there's, and all those who made it out appreciated it. It was a great time, I went both 9 days. So there was just wonderful, very big success. They made $5,077.71. So they sold 442 pumpkins, I believe. And it was a huge turnout. Very positive.
Unfortunately, I had a sick kid, so I had to miss it, but I was looking forward to it.
It was fun,
Yeah.
enjoyed it. A lot of good pumpkins sold. I think we did have a banning of one administrator, he's not allowed to be here anymore, but, for that, because he got there first and got the premier pumpkins, I understand. What'd you get, 6 in the beginning?
No, we got 4, and you know what they say about the early bird.
Well, this bird got a lot of worm. So anyway, it was a very big success, so thank the board for doing that, that was a very good vision, so the first big event.
Go home with 15.
You had 15 pumpkins, we have 10 kids, come on.
They are the wrong person.
Excellent. Let's see, what else we got here? Facility update?
It goes to me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so facility, we've talked about geothermal a little bit, so that's gonna be a challenge. So right now, we're on our regular kerosene heat. The thing that came out, it's changed 4 times over the weekend, but what came out on Thursday is where we're at in the Thursday update, back to the original. So the pump's been pulled today and tomorrow, they're getting it all done. The driller will be here next week, and they're hoping to have everything done by the end of the month.
And that's the one south of town on 395?
No, that's what's the name of that town, the farm, I don't remember the name of the farm, family.
It's very.
Very,
Yeah, that sounds.
It's south of town, but it's the Berry Wells Road, because there's 2, I gotta make sure you're right.
Yeah, no, I just hadn't seen it, because I drive by it every day, and I haven't really seen anybody working, so I was
No,
gonna ask about it.
Well, it's coming, so they're taking it off the shed today and tomorrow. just in time for the snow.
So what happens if this does not work?
That,
Mr. Hubble, please don't ask questions like that.
I asked the same question.
It's just
you know.
because there was some of that what-if stuff.
There is some what-if stuff. We're hoping that we believe this is based on our decision-making tree, the information we have and all the chain, we believe this is the best course of action at this time, based on what information we have. What we're hoping is that the encasement, when we go down lower, is not gonna have to go lower. If it does, that might be an emergency board meeting to come back and hospital doing the same board meeting and say, hey, how much do we put in there?
That was.
Considering where the town is right now.
Right,
Yeah.
I attended those meetings, they were not positive meetings.
They're not comfortable,
I
no.
can tell you that right now. From a school board member perspective, I have some major concerns, for both, you know, if something goes wrong with the town, but also with this well. And, you know, we just paid our payments 5 months in advance, and if that project comes in over what they did, I'm really concerned about what that would mean, and for us, for the well.
We're not liable for any more costs.
Right,
Okay, the other thing is, and I'll say it now in public, which I've been trying to avoid, but I'll say it in public, we have to give a 90-day notice anyway, so this is our 90-day notice for our bill. It'll be the last utility bill I plan to pay unless the board overrules me. If it doesn't work.
Yeah, if it doesn't work.
if it doesn't work.
If it, yeah, we won't be paying it if it's not working, but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
there's a
about-
90
Does
days
it-
notices. in
Does
there.
This
it
is our
affect
notice.
us negatively if we have to give that 90 days notice?
No,
Okay,
we're just gonna tell them we're not paying it because of default.
because they defaulted.
The hospital did the same.
The hospital did the same.
Boilers.
I can't speak for the hospital, but I'm assuming, and I understand the hospital did the same.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
tough
my
situation.
concern was at the meetings when they were talking about it, that, as you just mentioned with the casing, if it has to go deeper, they have not approved, nor do they have the financing to case any deeper, but they would still plan to drill deeper, but that could cause another well collapse, and we're in the same boat.
Well, collapse or then are bringing up a lot of materials.
silt.
Yeah, material.
Yeah,
And there's a plateau down there, we understand from the storm. I mean, it gets really, I spent so many hours on it, I know more about it than I want to.
Yeah, so,
But we really believe that, you know, and I asked someone, can you give me a percentage, like, is it 70, 30, whatever? This is the best information they have, they won't give me a percentage. Looking at all the stuff I have, if I was to be a betting person, I would say it's 80-20 success. But that 20 concerns me.
that 20 concerns me.
You know, so that's where I'm at, and again, we have to give notification for default with the FDA loan, so this fulfills that requirement. We would still have to pay the utility bills now, even if we didn't have service, so that's what we pretty much do. And I can't speak for the hospital, but I think the hospital's in the same page we're on.
How much more is, I don't know what kind of gas propane we use for.
It's 5,000, as a maximum, it's 5,000 a week.
Okay, and then, but then normally it's what with the well?
Well,
That's
we
ready
pay
to go.
8,000,
2,100 a week.
2,100 a week.
So it's more than doubles our cost if we have to go something other than that geothermal well.
That's our concern.
Sweet.
And the cost to repair the well was approved at $125,000.
Right.
And they said it could come in anywhere between $125,000 and $175,000.
200,000.
Oh, they upped it?
No, I looked at the other part, and we have to go to the casing, because they didn't, in my opinion, it did not include, when you go down to a certain depth, the casing structure has to be more,
Correct.
pressure has to be higher, so I did a different math than they did.
Okay, yeah, I was just
So I
going
think it's
off
another
of what
200,
they
yeah.
said at the meeting, and that, yeah, not casing part of a well, you know, from somebody who's lived on wells my whole life, that's
It's
really
concerning.
concerning.
But they're judging by their geo-resident sounding, that's supposed to be a plateau. So, but again, based on the information we have, that's where we're at. But it's a very big concern.
Fingers crossed, I guess.
It is. So going on, any other question on that part before we go on? A third floor is occupied now, So we're starting to move that up there, it's pretty good. We also use one whole section, we're putting all of our records, because our vault was completely full for about 30 years of stuff. And our new assistant has cleaned it up, she's become the vault expert, so she's really done good. We've also clarified some of the records, what we can dispose of. We had a lot of records all the way back 30, 40 years that we didn't have to keep more than 4. So we're disposing of a lot of that stuff, so appreciate the work on that one.
What had to be done up there to get it to compliant?
All the lights, we had to do lights, and we had to do covers on certain things, and the breaker boxes and all that. Then we had that extra little ramp to go over to the fire escape. We did the bare minimum to get it occupied.
So is the goal in the future to be able to have classes there?
Well, that's gonna be the facilities group when we talk, because, right now, we had a little bit more money, but right now with the PERS increase and some other issues, I have a hard time committing the money for it right now. Especially in the same thing with the track. I held off on the track bid because I don't think we should do anything yet until we find out where our money lands, especially if, that's the sad part, when all of a sudden you get an increase with PERS, it's not announced, and just to do business is gonna cost us an extra 380 grand. That's a lot. That cuts into our 40% of our extra money. And that's bad. So that's, to answer your question, that's where I'm at with it. So right now I'm holding off on everything. We got this one up, but to build a classroom right now, I would not want to do that. I know Mr. Thornton looked at it, we were at 350 to 375, we said, and we just don't have that right now. Our number one priority now would be before we do paint, would be the roof on the middle school gym. Yeah. Pardon? They're important.
Yeah.
They're not exciting, but they're needed. You don't miss them until they're gone.
Or there's a tree.
Okay, any questions about that then? Okay, so Sean Gerber won the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals. It was mentioned there for the quarterly person of the year, so they would do 4 a year. So all his stuff was sent in, and he won that in September 26th. So I put that in your Thursday update, but I want to publicly recognize him. His reports are the best, and we have more people than anybody else. So it's kind of exciting. He won't tell you this, but we serve more kids. We serve more kids than Klamath County and Malheur County, or one county does. That's pretty big. Pretty excited about that, so he does a really good job for us. He's passionate about it. That being mentioned too, one of the things we found out was snacks. I was a principal today, and I watched the high school, and I tried to put myself in their shoes, and I was starving at 1:30. Even though I went to Rotary, I'm just saying I was hungry. And I found out the reason why is the kids, the way their lunches go, the snacks don't go, and then they have to buy their own snacks. So we met with Susan, and Susan's gonna help us out. So we're gonna set, what do you call them, go? Go and grab? Grab and go. So we're gonna have meals set up for kids who come in late. We're also gonna have some money set aside from Sean's program, and Ann's worked it out where we're gonna be able to pay for a couple months. So if a kid comes in late or doesn't eat the breakfast or can't eat, sometimes kids can't eat in the morning, then they'll be able to go get a snack, which would be a bagel, cream cheese, something really nutritious. Then in addition, I found out our office staff is buying the snacks for the kids now, and we're gonna cover that expense, because a lot of kids are coming in at 2 o'clock, 2:30 hungry. So that's where we're at with that. I wanted to make sure I let you know, that was one of the things with the 4-day, remember the 4-day work week, the survey came back about food, so that's been an issue. I also mentioned to you in the Thursday update that Sean has his program set up now. The backside of that shop is all set for him. We got 3 refrigerators. We actually gave fresh fruit and vegetables last Thursday for the first time. So that went out to all the kids. So we have a very big program going out every Thursday for our kids. So I want to make sure let you know we're addressing that issue. Going back, the next thing is one that I'll bring to you next month to ask to make it formal. But the longest serving person in the district, no offense, Deb, she's got you beat, Patty Mills. So Patty Mills has been one of those servants, and Patty could have retired 18, 19 years ago, but she didn't.
She did.
She did, but I'm saying she's still working and stuff. So we would like to find a reference, something to recognize her in perpetual, so we're looking at asking the board to call it the Patty Mills District Office. Name it after her. So, head nod's all I need.
I like it.
Perfect.
Okay, good, so then we'll order the sign and make it happen. So, okay, thank you very
The
much.
shop kid's gonna make that?
Pardon?
The shop kid's gonna make that?
No, the prison.
Okay.
They're gonna do the same one like we did the front of the high school. And we're gonna put it in front of the building. I just wanted to make sure the board was okay with it. It's a great tribute. She's been here 2 years longer than you, so she's almost 50 years. So that's a tribute to her. So. Okay, so I just want to make sure I let you know that one. Appreciate working now. I got the opportunity to work with Mr. Stratton, superintendent there. We got a lot of things going well. It's a very, I'm trying to look at the right word, turbulent time with the Oregon Department of Ed and other states. How's that? Does that work, Mr. Stratton? Yeah, turbulent is a good way to use it. There's a lot of stuff going on that is really difficult for small school districts, small ESDs, but I feel we have a good partnership and we're working towards that. So I'm happy with that we're doing that. In addition, the last thing I want to add is we had OSBA Roadshow, and I appreciate Ms. O'Brien went and Mr. Johnson went. So was there anything you want to share with that with the rest of the board?
I think it was a good little meeting. It let us know what's going on at the state level, that there's going to be elections of the OSBA officers, but also what the Oregon School Board Association is going to be focusing on this year, as far as working with the legislature. That is accountability, absenteeism, and also some funding. Thank you all. That's a big one, and I was drawing a blank on it. But, and they just kind of gave a little, in a nutshell, this is what we're doing with them. Anything else, Ryan? The food was good.
Thank you.
Can't complain about that.
And the rural caucus, Will Cahill's our representative. He was supposed to present tonight. We asked him to move that to next month. So he mentioned about that there. So he's going to represent the rural caucus. That'll be one of the things we vote on next month. And then, of course, on the 8th, 9th, and 10th, Ms. O'Brien and Lastly Johnson is going, and I'm going as well. We are a little concerned, I'll tell you that now, and that's one thing we put you guys on waiting list for Marriott, because if the election goes a certain direction, Portland could be a very volatile situation. So that happened a couple of 2016, wasn't it, late? Yeah.
Well, and last year at the Marriott residence, they brought in extra security because of the teachers' strikes going on, and they thought accidentally that this was all part of that whole teacher strike thing, and so they were really worried about safety though too.
So we'll keep you posted how that goes, and then you'll come back and give a report, so Molly, about anything new coming up. Okay, any questions for me on the reports? I want to mention Chris Betzer was here at decision making, and I hope the board found that worthwhile and finds it proper for us. I think our kids are using it well.
I think that's a great thing to do for the board, to actually see what's actually going on in each department, particularly something that's school-wide like that was very interesting to know,
Good.
to realize what was happening.
Okay, thank you. Any questions then? Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm done. Thank you.
Move on to the financial report.
Right, so in your packet is quite a few different reports that you guys are seeing from our system, so I'm gonna just be brief on the highlights on the September reports. Revenues are coming in as predicted. One thing to mention though, the Lake County assessed value for school district number 7 went up 85 million. That is part of the Ruby Pipeline valuation. It's also part of NextGen, Red Rock. They did not file their exemption, but it sounds like they're going to file an appeal. So while it's good news that the assessed values have finally gone up, that's a reversal. We've seen declines quite a few years. They're going up. We can't really count on that much money coming in on that billed property tax. But
Do you have an estimate of what you think it will be in actuality?
So if it's off no, because I'm not exactly sure what they're going to appeal. I'm not exactly sure what their appeal is. The tax bill went to, the assessed value went 538 million for school district 7. Our amount billed is 2.6 million. With the 92% collection rate, it would bring in 2.4, except we don't know that they'll pay that.
Right.
We budgeted just barely over 2 million. So what we budgeted is going to be in line. we're probably going to get an upside benefit on this
We're not gonna
property
go down.
valuation. But I'm definitely not counting those chickens until they hatch. So we'll see as it comes in. So that's the revenue side. As far as expenses, I just want to point out, you'll see purchase services are higher than what they have been in the past, or the trend. That's coming through from asbestos, gym floors, DMS lighting, third floor, just things like that that we have done year to date. The other thing I'm watching on these reports is support services function. Right now it's trending that it's going to be high, so I'll watch for that for a resolution if needed. The other highlights from financial things, I did submit our first period ADM. Right now, our resident ADMR was 681. That is, we reduced our estimate to 700, so our estimate is still a little high. We will just continue to watch that. That collection is open for a little bit longer, so I'll probably get consensus on if we want to adjust that.
I believe we're gonna adjust to 10 or 12 people probably by December, so. But we also, you're gonna see MODOC in here, that's approved all the way through. We do have, what, 16 for MODOC? 14 for MODOC. So we do have those, and we have a couple others, but we can't count those students, because in our ATM.
Cash balances as of today are about 3.6 million. I like to throw that out there because we continue to hear districts that cannot make their payroll. So when you're looking at people not being able to make payroll in October, they're just holding on by their claws, waiting for property taxes to come in. So we do start seeing revenues come in now with property taxes. So we're sitting from a cash standpoint, we're sitting as to be expected.
You'll hear about a couple districts in the next 2 weeks. You'll read about them that one will not be able to make payroll this month. Somebody do.
One piece of, I guess, bad news looking forward, or just concern, and we've already kind of been talking about it, but our PERS rates were released. These are rates that go into effect on July 1st, 2025. Our Tier 1, Tier 2 rate goes from 12.2 to 18.15. Our general OPSERP goes from 9.36 to 14.97. On top of that normal rate, we have the 6% IAP, and we have our PERS bond rate paying that debt back. So we're looking at a maximum rate of 32% on PERS. So for every salary dollar or deferred comp dollar, we're paying another 32 cents to PERS for a lifetime benefit, a lifetime retirement benefit for our staff, which is
Huge.
It's big. It's a very generous benefit. It's just costly. So you're going to hear that across the state. And this is not just education. This is every public employer that participates in PERS. It's significant.
So took Ann's idea and we forwarded it to the governor's committee and all that. So we said that if the rainy day fund and the stability fund's there, why don't we take money from those two and put the money down to buy down PERS for the entire state? Because if it collapses, we're gonna need a stability fund. It doesn't make sense to pay it now early than later. So that's one of the options, but coming with Ann's expertise, I stole it, and I didn't claim the whole idea, but I tried. So hopefully the state will see some validity to that and see if we can get some kind of relief for the whole state, not just us. But this is money we didn't plan on, so it's about $380,000.
If you hold our salaries completely constant going into July 25, 26, it would be an additional $380,000 to our district cost-wise.
And then, of course, that's not giving raises.
Right, that is
So we
just
give raises,
that.
we're gonna be over 400 easy.
So the idea of reforming PERS is kind of dead on arrival. It takes too much, it's really, really difficult. Even PERS reforms that happened in, what year was that?
216.
And it's still still working its way through the system. What was the quote we heard the other day? The rat going through the python? Like it would, yeah, true. But the idea of like buying down the whole liability for the whole state with some of these dollars, I think, is, you're not pitting agencies against each other for funding. And then ends up being an economic help for the state. You get to maintain more jobs, so.
So that's what we're pushing for. So if you see us lobbying for that, that's what's gonna happen. We'll be there at OSBA, I'll probably bring you over too, Mr. Brian, to help me lobby that. So,
I know, I can't speak for Oregon, but I know during the recession, CalPERS had
refund, you see.
a big problem and, you know, yeah, there are a lot of retirements that got lost and lessened.
And our tier ones are getting smaller, so they're hoping that will correct it, but it's too late. That's why we gotta correct it. We can't wait 5 or 6 more years.
Yeah, and I saw what happened with CalPERS and, yeah, you don't want that.
Also, Ann has audit, remember?
Oh, yes, auditors will be on, sorry, go ahead.
So just with the first thing, I mean, everybody's being made aware of this, right? I mean, I heard about it before, but this is a pretty serious deal. I mean,
It
Sure.
is, it's a big,
it's something we can't continue to overlook as we continue to think about next year's budget. Like, I mean, obviously you're thinking about it, but, I mean, 400,000, you know what I mean?
Well, that's conservative, I mean, because I remember
Yeah,
that's not
it
gonna be
is.
raises.
It's-
I mean, and we're gonna have to give raises because our staff deserve it, but our problem is that this was unannounced. I mean, you have all the best budget in the world. I don't know how these districts are broke already. How are they gonna do it? And right now, we had extra money we were hoping to put in facilities, but now I can't put anything in facilities because I need to have money just in case.
And that's everybody. I mean,
John Day was an extreme, in fact, I wonder if I have them, I do.
So John, yes,
Listen.
10 million, 10,
Yeah,
it's 1.2
so
million.
John Day School District, their rate,
Went from 5 to,
you know what, this isn't, yeah, went from 5.97 to 19.91. That's,
no way.
so it's over 10% of their entire budget in one hit.
One is going first.
yeah, so it, yeah, it's, will be discussed.
This will hit the ESD and everything.
It's, yeah, it's state, I mean, it's statewide, it's anybody that participates in FIRST.
Any
It's-
public employee.
So at our conference, when we're lobbying, because that's what we're gonna be doing a lot of, Ms. O'Brien as well, we're gonna be lobbying to say this is what we need to do, and be creative.
I have a question. Could districts opt out of PERS?
No,
Okay.
once you're in, you're in.
Yeah, because,
And to be honest, I doubt we would have a
We will
teacher
be.
come work for us if we were not in FIRST.
No.
Oh,
You would not get it.
Legally, they have to be in PERS if they're a public entity, but the only part that we don't have to do is pick up the employee's 6% pickup. But if we don't do that, that's cutting the teacher's salary 6% plus, you're not gonna recruit, isn't it?
yeah,
And
'cause-
we have low teacher salaries, not only a negative, is that we were very low when we got here, we were, 194 out of 197.
yeah.
So we've
No.
given, you guys have been generous, we've given higher raises, but we still have more to get to.
Yeah, no, I was just asking because, again, going from past experiences to California, some counties had years ago opted out, and those counties that opted out actually have stronger retirement systems, and they're more stable, so that's why
Not
I
an
was,
option, Oregon.
darn.
Good check, good try. So that's why we think though that Oregon needs to fix it. Be proactive. And like Mr. Johnson pointed out, it's $700,000, right? All kinds of different things in the corporation.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah.
There's 4 of them, like that, I forgot that. Gilchrist,
They incorporated?
they were city, they
I
were,
don't know, I didn't know how, I don't know the.
so like Gilchrist used to be a town, a long lumber town. It was not
Right.
incorporated.
The
The company store. So all the ones that started as company stores in those old days, there's some grandfather clauses in there. There's Napa, I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's 5 I remember. Pardon? Oak Ridge, Napa, Neoconi, Nestucca, and Seaside got off because Seaside has all the money with tourism. Yeah, it gets convoluted, but for us, we're stuck.
One thing to point out too, the fact that the district did bond some PERS debt a few years ago continues to help us with our PERS rates. So where that cost to us is about 8% of payroll, we're getting almost a 12% reduction in our rate because of that, because we did buy down that debt first. So that continues, talking about decision-making, continues to be a good decision, even when the outcome of the PERS rates continue to go up.
And a couple of your board members remember that was a tough one to make. To be wrong.
Yes, thank you for reminding me about the auditors. The auditors will be on site at the district office the election week, so they'll be in November 5th, 4th,
Fourth.
through the 8th.
My word, OSB.
We've continued to upload a lot of documentation to the portal. I am really keeping my fingers crossed that it goes really quickly and really smoothly this year. I feel like I'm much quicker finding the information and getting their schedules to them and making the entries that they're used to seeing as far as accounts receivable and accruals and all those things. So it's a learning process for me too. It is a little bit different than how the county did some things, but I feel like we're getting there. So keeping my fingers crossed on this audit process. Okay, any questions? Anything?
All right. Thank you, man. All right, the equity committee.
So, we have equity committee proposal, Mr. Louie, integrated guidance. Now, before he gets started, he's gonna get up here. Before he talks, he's a little modest sometimes, but, him and, Mr. Stratton both sat down and came up with the equity. So the equity team, every district has an equity team, you have to have it, by September 1st of 2025? So the problem is, the equity board's gonna be the same school boards and made up of, they have a conglomerate. So Mr. Louie and Mr. Stratton came up with an idea of how to get the whole region to be part of an equity team. So they proposed that to the state cutting edge. They said they were gonna get back to us, now there we go.
Right.
So I'm gonna let you know that there's more to this than just a couple of emails. You guys are very proactive, and we're hoping this carries on to the whole state.
Yes, so it was mentioned by Mr. Stratton when we first had one of our OD meetings, back in, I believe it was a springtime meeting, I think. Was it fall?
first year.
Oh, yeah, 2 years.
So OD was here and it just kind of got brought up as a potential for counties and districts like ours where we are already strained finding people to be on boards, committees. I mean, whether it's church, community ones,
Budget
public
committee.
ones, budget committees, right, all these things. And so the idea was to spread that equity committee out that is going to be required no matter what. And I feel like, well, can we just, there's no way around it. You have to at least come up with a 5-person committee at a minimum. More than likely, you'll probably look at 7 in order to meet all their different criteria. So, taking Lane's idea, they got it through, passed it through ODE and up there at the state level, and they said, yes, we made an exemption. If you want to write a proposal, we can push it through. And so long as OD accepts the proposal, they have some people up there that will approve it and send it on through, and then we avoid having to have every district enter a plush. We have to come up with 5 more people for a committee. They can't be school board members, they can't be they have all these criteria on there again, so you've eliminated a whole other group out of it. And so the idea was to bring it all together and make it one big county-wide thing, because a lot of the equity stuff that comes up is county-wide, whether it be poverty, things like rural poverty tends to be our major equity group that we work with, local group.
A couple other things, yeah.
And so I took Lane's proposal, took what OD came back with, and then so Lane sent me to task with it, and so on my whiteboard in my office you will see various categories of this and that and things grouped together, trying to make things work out so everything seemed equitable amongst all the districts and that it would fit ODE's criteria. So I had to work through the criteria from ODE because there's some requirements that everything still had to meet that district couldn't get away from, but still allowed it to fit into the entire thing. Every district has to have a budget committee member on their equity committee. So I had to make sure that every school district still has to contribute 1 budget committee member that is not part of the school board as part of the equity committee. So you'll see that written up. Did the proposals make it into the board packet? If not, I'll pass one out. So my idea was at this meeting was to just kind of give you some highlights, let you read through this officially. And I have, let's see, do I have? Make sure I made 5 for everybody.
I was gonna say.
And then also, did somebody get an extra one?
Yeah.
Pass that down to Mr. Carter if we can. Thank you, appreciate it.
Here, you got one for your notes.
Oh, and one for me. I have it pretty well memorized. I've been staring at it on my whiteboard for the last 6 months. So I got this to them in January. Mr. Carter asked for it. Several of our smaller ESDs have also requested it. to spread out to their districts in the hopes of using it as a design criteria for stuff. I got a request from ODE to take it to all the boards, as at least, I'm gonna present it to you first, let you folks read through it, and this is gonna happen to all the boards. You guys are the first one I've approached. I will get to the rest in November at their board meetings to introduce it to them, and let you read through it. If there's concerns, if there's something that's glaringly wrong with it, please take it to Mr. Carter and have him relay that question to me, and then we can get that addressed and rearrange if there's something truly glaring in there. And some of it may be something we can't avoid, right? It's by ORS that it has to be a piece that a district
So if
can't
you have a
avoid.
concern, let me know, we'll look it up legally, and then if I find it's legal, let you know, otherwise we'll give it to you.
Yeah, and we can make that improvement or change. Right now, the way I have it designed is District 7 would provide out of an 11 board equity committee in order to make sure stuff kind of got dispersed as well as it could. District 7 provides us with 3, and out of that you'll see certain criteria. You guys were the ones I proposed to provide the student representative as having a large stadium mark, because we have to have a student on it, right? You have to have a budget committee member. And depending on what focal groups these people come from, it checks off other boxes for ODE. So you'll see in there, you'll have, one of them has to be a budget committee, one will be a student body member, and then your third one is what I'd kind of call your fill in the gap open one. Any criteria met, right? Is it rural poverty that we didn't quite meet? Did we represent our Latino population? Like things like that that we can work with and stuff like that that will help represent that to ODE. And so that open kind of spot there lets us fill in gaps amongst the whole county, and each one can kind of look at the broader thing.
We can do all kinds of different things.
So you guys have 3. Each of the K-8s has a single representative on it, and the reason being was that you guys also represent them usually for 912, and Paisley also might occasionally get some of them out of Plush or Adel. But for the most part, you guys, so I gave you guys 3, I gave each of them 1, knowing that you guys also would represent the 912 group of people out of there, and then there's 2 from North Lake, and also 2 from Paisley. So that's kind of how it is. So I think of you guys as kind of anywhere from 3 to 5 members, and then there's 1 in order to make it an odd thing. I came up with 1 more open position that can just float around the county. This fills in like the absolute, hey, we have a 10% Latino population. Can we try to go recruit somebody that can represent that population?
Or a
And the
commissioner, or somebody like that.
And the equity committee also has to be able, I mean, the requirements would have fallen on you guys, and I believe, and I'm still in negotiations with Stratton, that the ESD will help pick up some of the costs of, we have to have a translator, childcare, internet, anything like that, right? If it's somebody that cannot make a meeting, do we provide them a hotspot so that they can attend the meeting virtually? Like I'm talking, you have to open it to everybody, and you have to provide all and any access needed to that person. So, just keep that in mind. And then we're also, the ESD was going to provide kind of the board secretary or the committee secretary who will go there as a non-voting member to put in a few hours during the year to put minutes together, provide a packet with you folks and stuff like that, so you know what the equity committee is working on, reach out to you, and once again, also provide that assistance. They have somebody that they can go to if they need transportation reimbursed, if they need some sort of a hotspot for internet, depending on their location and things like that. So that'll kind of give a hub for somebody to go to that's on the committee, as well as be able to disperse that information out to the district's boards. And also, and I tried to line meeting dates up with some of our meetings that already happened, budget committee meetings and some stuff like that. So 2 in-person meetings, so it's as little burden on anybody as possible. Preferably a central location like Paisley, equitable, things like that. And then the rest of them can just be a virtual one and stuff like that, and provide whatever accommodations. Food, also, all that stuff has to be accounted for. So if there's any extra ideas after reading through the proposal, please provide them. If feels like there's a detail I left out, let me know. OD's already gone through it, gave me their suggestions. So I reworked some words, reworked some stuff in there, and now I'm kind of taking it to you folks to go over it one more time, look it over. I'll say, hey, these were the changes recommended by my boards. do you want me now to take it to them as a final kind of consortium proposal that this is what we will do?
So we might take it to the board in January, February, you know, depending on what.
Yep, give me some time to work through it and make sure I have a good conversation with ODE that this is what you want, you will accept it, and if I get all these approvals, it will actually go through, and then we won't be, all of a sudden, they say, well, last minute, all of you have to have your own, right, or something like that. I'm trying to avoid last minute coming up with a committee in early September to meet Oregon law.
Can you remind me, what does the equity committee, what are their tasks?
We don't know.
We just get to meet.
So,
I know that there is a group that is organized of 11 people that has to meet. So, what I will say is that we will try as hard as possible, and I think I included that the ESD superintendent will at least attend the organizational meeting in August so as to get off the ground to decide on what a focus will be for the group for the year, kind of, and at least hit it out there and get some initial stuff. That is the one thing about it, is they said equity committee, and they said, well, they want to be able, they have, the reason they have somebody from the budget was that they are supposed to help align your budget to equitable things and make sure that things are helping all students in all focal groups, right? So I guess the budget person would listen in on budget meetings and say, yeah, here's what I see, or here's what and kind of bring it back to the group and see if they're all consensus that everything seems to be A-okay. And then the equity committee can always say, well, we feel like this group, or we've kind of, in our world, this is what's happening and the districts aren't doing it, so can we send like a little reminder and a typed up like letter saying, hey, we think you guys could do better with this.
so this is patterned after the Oregon Department of Ed's school board, and the board has an equity team. So they have all their policies have to go through the equity team. That's the way it will work in larger districts. Here in smaller districts, it might just be simple to come back and say, there's a look at the budget, make sure that we address all of our marginalized population, or potentially marginalized, that's the big word.
Right, if all your high school success dollars are aimed at agriculture, but yet a focal group of poverty never sees any of that coming their way, or they're not encouraged into the agricultural program, like, then that would consider something, you know, that it's supposed to alleviate things like that where we feel like funding is unequal or provided in one direction and not towards.
So I don't see in small districts it's gonna be an issue, but we're trying to get to
Our
a place
superintendents are very good
this is
about-
compliance, and that's what we're looking for.
So we'll probably have to, at some point in the future, go and make a list of, these are our potentially marginalized groups, and just have a, label everything.
And I tried to make sure that that was included as part of, so when it goes to ODE, I tried to identify, and I did some by numbers. Once again, certain numbers we're not allowed to display because we have so few of them that it would identify a person if you provided them. So, I went through, grouped the numbers as best I could for data that there was, identified it as best I could in terms of what we've identified in our integrated guidance stuff as our focal groups, and generally what small rural districts have already potentially identified as groups that tend to suffer the most.
And I can see this being just like the budget committee. When we sit down with the equity committee, superintendents will sit down and say, here's what we've identified, this is how we're addressing it, do you have any questions? I can see it happening that way here.
And they're going to be very eyeball-y, and that I want to be very careful definitely going into this first round of committee stuff, because they're definitely going to be weary if, right, we got to avoid putting on, right, oh, well, it's the head of this organization, right? They really want it to not be already considered to be, I would say, prominent people that have major roles at major industries, or been like they just don't, you can't just go find, like the CEO at the hospital or CFO should not be on the equity committee for the county, right? Things like that.
So would this be considered like a community action group type thing, or?
We don't know yet.
You are as,
That's what.
The bigger school districts started
they were required last year.
last
Last
year.
year.
So what was the ADM cutoff?
1,500.
1,500. Didn't have to do it until July, or, yeah.
Of last year.
of
Last year,
2025.
2020.
So we're not required until 2025 school year.
Correct.
And I was like, well, this is ridiculous. Our board members are on water boards, they're on they're on this board,
They're
they're on this board.
volunteering for this and
Yes.
that. and-
I
Correct.
You just can't do that. I think like Hardy County has 6 one-room schoolhouses, so they would have to have 6 different equity boards. They don't even have enough people in Double O to make that, you know? And so I said, can we make this an ESD countywide one? And so that's where it was birthed from.
It was a
But
great
they
idea.
still have not given us
Guidelines.
purpose, direction, or guidelines. My guess is we'll hear after a year with the big school districts, what worked or didn't work. They may even forgot about it. Kind of, you know, on a checks and balance piece. But we want to be proactive, and all my Frontier ESD people that I work with, the other small ESDs, they are watching what we're doing, and they want to ride our shirt coats, because this is the only way we're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, we're inventing the wheel here.
Right, and so I would love to be able to bring something, yes, at the start of the year and say, this is where we're going, have it put together a list of candidates and have it all ready and going by the end of springtime, start of summer there, going into it.
We'll put it
So,
on.
if there's any extra comments you would have currently right now and voice your concern about, is there any actual direction, I can say I have not received anything other than, here's how it has to be structured and here's what you have to provide.
And then our third member would be some employee, community member,
Could be
parent.
Correct, and that's why I put
somebody, as
several
long as they meet
different-
that
Right.
One of the focal groups.
Correct, right? So a community member could also match up with your parent one, right? And so various things you can use one person to kind of cover those various entities that ODE wants you to cover. And so that's why I've kind of left it open and like, okay, so if your budget person is a parent, you're covered on the parent piece, which means your third person probably needs to be some random community member that might make a focal group. If your budget person is also, considered rural poverty or something like that, and their children are on free and reduced lunch and they're a parent, then we could say that person also represents this focal group, So we might try to, when we look at our list of candidates, as terrible as it sounds, you would pick one that matches what your group is lacking. I know, it sounds, I'm trying to be as PC as they're allowing me to be, because they're telling me that this is how it has to
So what
work.
I'm looking at is, we'll bring this back in December, but if it's anything in this month, let us know, and with corrections, and we'll sit there and probably make it a formal thing. We approve it as this, and then of course Mark will bring back other stuff later.
Yep.
Does that sound like a game plan, everybody?
Yeah.
Nice work on that for the
Not that,
ESD.
I mean, what are the negatives if this were to be set up?
Oh, no, if we don't do this, they will take school funding.
Yes,
So those school districts that may have forgot about, they can see some major penalties.
I think there's gonna be some, I didn't mean that the school districts have forgot about it.
Yeah.
I think maybe ODE's forgot about it. Because I have not heard much talk about it. I've heard nothing besides people asking us what we are doing.
So next week, they're hiring the small schools rep, and that person will be in charge of this, so I know they.
Yeah, yes, Rochelle has been the one who kind of helped move and shake this along for us.
That's why it's taken a
That's why it's
2 month,
quiet.
that's why it's quiet.
So, for
I'm on
myself,
that committee.
I'm super, pleased the way you guys are doing, and I think it is gonna be helpful to, Hardy County.
It's huge, we couldn't do it without it. We couldn't do it.
Other,
Yeah, Harney will allow us, some of those ones have been asked Grant County.
We don't have that many people to make these committees.
no.
No idea.
And equity in rural frontier eastern Oregon is about access. Where equity in an I-5 corridor
It's a whole
is
different.
totally different. Where equity on a ocean logging community is totally different. And so to sell this, I told the people, I go, we're gonna have a hard time selling this as an equity committee. We gotta have something else or whatever, but I think they're gonna make us stick with that name, equity. But I think we're gonna be all right with the county push. But we're good.
But in that sense, every county could almost have their own group, their own people that they want. I mean, if it's like a logging group, it's gonna be,
But we still have to fit,
Arnold's people, if it's gonna
Every
be.
bias.
we still have to fit what they ask. We have to fill as many seats. There's seats that we need to fill.
So you can't say equity for ours, county looks this way.
You can to some extent, but to some extent you can't, because they're gonna know, they're going to see percentages on your school day and say, these are your marginalized groups that we have identified almost for you.
Okay.
and they're gonna wanna see somebody from one of those groups on your committee.
Correct.
We're baking the cake, we gotta make sure every ingredient that they have on there is there.
Yes, so I've been through the checklist as much as I possibly could, and Odie has given me at least kind of one of these, saying, take it to the board, see if they disagree with anything that you put in there. So please read through. I know I'm trying not to ask you to read one more thing, but please read through it, and just at a glance and stuff like that, I try to make it as concise as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You wanna go integrated guidance?
Yeah, so integrated guidance, it's an application year, right? Biennium, elections, it all falls in line with integrated guidance. The nice thing is, we have already done an integrated guidance application for one go around, and a lot of the application questions are going to be pre-filled for us, so stuff like that. And now we also have like 8 different applications, so depending on what your district is, size, scope of it, and things like that, you click on it and it will give you an application that hopefully is a little reduced in size. Hard part is you guys are a K-12 that's just slightly kind of above some of those parameters and things like that, so some of the stuff we still have to do no matter what.
So our report will look different than the other 4 districts.
Right, your rural, your Plush and Adel is definitely gonna have a different application and some things like that. You guys have some programs to study, stuff like that in terms of CTE programs and things. So your application will look a little bit different, but the pre-filled questions, right? We don't have to describe to them how we have a librarian again. They'll take the answer from last year, and unless something changed, you don't have to update certain questions. So there will be some movement that way for them, and they agree to that. The one thing that falls now into integrated guidance is the early lit stuff, which has become much more of a task than it used to be. Susan can attest to the reporting requirements now that are on the early lit and stuff like that. I've been going through it with Gail and Paul and Plush and Adel and stuff like that. So in Northlake and Paisley and stuff. So it's once again, it's a little quicker for them. Having multi-grade teachers actually was a huge benefit to some of them in terms of how they had to answer the questions and how fast it went. But integrated guidance, so we're going to be moving into a needs assessment committee that's going to have to be generated. We'll probably work off of the one that we used in the past, meet together, bring some data in, say, hey, here's what we budgeted using these dollars in the past. Do we need to keep budgeting for those programs? Do we need to shift it? Are some of these one-time budget items that now need to shift our focus somewhere else? Right, if we did a project with $30,000 out of high school success, does that $30,000 now move?
It's bad, yeah. Never mind that.
I'm like,
Sorry.
am I not zip my,
Some
like, are you
outside-
guys just now telling me in an awkward
Some
way?
outside as distracted.
I've done it before with my students. I get these awkward looks and you gotta do a quick turnaround and.
Oh, is it in the building?
So, there will be some stuff like that goes in the needs assessment, so I'll be in touch with Mr. Carter about putting together a needs assessment team, a little bit of data on students' involvement, some stuff in different courses and things like that, how things are looking, where we're spending our money, and then just making sure that as a group in that needs assessment team, which involves faculty, administrators, counselors, some community members and we can use people like Jennifer in Student Services. She can provide us a lot of information about how that's been helping the larger community and stuff in terms of parents and students and some things like that. So we can draw in and not necessarily have to reach super far to do the needs assessment, but that is what I would call the burdensome piece. The questions themselves are, but I think as far as getting people together and having a meeting and showing that you've had meeting minutes and that you have drawn some conclusions about what needs the district has and how they're being met by how you're budgeting your grants, that's to me one of the more burdensome things is getting everybody together. So that's where integrated guidance is going. We'll hopefully have all the application materials ready to go by March 1, and we'll just input it all and be ready to go. It looks like all the reports, we're good on getting reports in. I think there's an SI integrated guidance annual report to check a box off for ODE so that we can get that done, and then that gets uploaded, and that will fulfill our 23-24 year. So any questions around integrated guidance and stuff like that? It's a similar process to what's been in the past. They're lumping some more grants into it. Mr. Carter, is there anything you think I'm missing as far as informing the
Every
board
time
of?
we have to, we make a program adjustment, we have to give it a narrative
Yep,
and everything. So I think we're on it and we appreciate it.
outcomes and strategies. So outcomes and strategies govern how you spend your money on activities. So the nice thing is we try to make our outcomes and strategies something that we know is gonna last for 2 years. So that when we add activities, if you change your outcomes and strategies, you have to do a whole new needs assessment meeting. Because they say, well, how come you changed your outcomes when your needs assessment told you what it was? So we try to avoid that. So our outcomes and strategies are something we very look at broadly for 2 years in hopes that any activities that we change to fall within inside those outcomes and strategies, so we don't have to do extra meetings and extra stuff like that.
That's
And
why it's
what
a
we did at
pumpkin
like the
patch,
start
not
of this year.
pumpkin patch cornfield.
Yes. And so, and we worked like at the start of the year with high school success and some of them to make sure activities fell underneath umbrellas and we did have to go through a big long process for it. So it's been helpful in other areas. It has its own burdens, but I don't know if there's ODEs, and Mr. Carter can attest it, the accountability word is huge out there right now, and I don't know if there's any way around it currently.
Not yet.
Their accountability, legislators do not want to see funds go out that we do not have to produce reports on.
So the work he's doing helps us a great deal in what we're going to be approving tonight, Division 22.
And I apologize, I'm gonna sneak out, it's my oldest 5th birthday, so.
What's your priority set? Come on.
Right, I said, I gotta be at this, it happens once a month.
Do you need the equity committee to
Do
go?
I need to, right, you guys all come to a consensus about whether or not this is allowable?
What a cover.
Okay, so thank you folks, I appreciate the time.
Appreciate it.
Tell
Happy
Dominic
birthday.
happy birthday
I
and
will.
Brad expects some cake.
Oh.
Oh, geez. Empty.
Okay, everybody have a great evening. Well, there's definitely a bat flying around in
Yes,
this
that's
whole.
what I,
Progress is gone. Now we're going to the posting
A
policy.
bat?
This is the first review. Good question from one of the board members. What about deleted policy? So let's explain. So what happens is a deleted policy means that the statute has changed or that that policy is no longer needed. A lot of times we found that we had, like I said, policy number 2 or version 2, and we took those off because the problem is I asked where's version 1's at. So version 1 was deleted maybe a year ago. So now that's why we give it to you. I wanted to make sure that the board sees deleted policies. Some people don't do that, but I put them in there. And the reason why we put them in there is that way when someone comes up and says, we have a policy that says that, now the board knows it's been, yeah, I remember that. You can't keep up with all the policies, but I need to let you know it's been reviewed. So this is the first reading, so I just want to make sure, not too many big changes, just a couple
And
statutes.
this new one, this exemptions from competitive bidding, that's what
Yeah.
we're adding.
Is that saying that we don't have to take the cost of,
Yeah,
we
it's,
can bid lower than the
right,
cost?
that's our hope, because this is killing small districts right now.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
it's,
So if it's
Libraries.
below a certain dollar amount, we don't
Right,
need
we don't need
to
to.
put it out to bid, we can just.
that's
Sure.
great.
This is a big change for this is one of the small schools, kudos for small schools working on this one.
The only thing I would say to really, all school districts, to be careful of something like that is, for the any appearance of nepotism, that makes it tough. But
Those requirements are
otherwise-
still in there, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, it's a.
Every year and
Small
through your
schools.
audit process, you have to report related party transactions. So there's a lot of law already that covers.
For the most comfortable, luxurious.
So, if you look at that local contract review board, you know, that's a way we can use too.
Right.
It just helps us too with some of our, we're the only show in town. And it just makes it, example is that gate took an extra year and a half because we had to put it up for the bids and the local, it wound up being a local person anyway, because, you know, that just didn't happen.
Yeah, and the libraries killed the library, they can't get people in to be there.
Can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're hoping this sets precedent. Okay? Any questions? Okay, so Division 22 then, going right down the road. So what happens is, we have a checklist, so we go through the entire checklist, we put it down here. A couple things on there that concerned me was, and Lane brought some of this to me, substance abuse, you know, the new fentanyl stuff. I mean, So we have our stuff, we went through the list. We have our health curriculum in 7, 9, 11. We have the mental health. So we have hit all the requirements. We have a senior project coming on next year, mock interviews, resumes, all that stuff's there. Guest speakers, you know, KCC, Avid, we had field trips, we have military, we have Job Corps, we have Career Day, DEF, decision making. So we've hit all the requirements. That was it. A couple ones that concern me though is I had to do the math again to meet PE requirements in elementary with the 4-day school week, so we barely make it. We do make it. Some of the diploma requirements, we've already been ahead of that. In several years, we've added those. We've, student handbook and the course catalogs have been all updated according to the new statute. In addition, ninth grade on track, all that stuff Mark talked about has all been tied in here. So right now, we're in compliance with everything. There is a couple areas that I think we could improve on. And in a public meeting, I'm probably not gonna say too much except that some of the laws do not fit small schools. So we have done a Fallsbury flop, and what that means is we've gone over the bar, but we have barely kept the bar on it. We're not doing anything
It
higher.
wasn't pretty.
Pardon?
It wasn't pretty in Fallsbury.
It wasn't pretty, but it got the job done. So there's about 3 areas that I would say that we barely make compliance in. One of them would be library, and Mark mentioned that. You know, counselor, supposed to have 2 counselors for every 750 kids, where it's, you know, so now we're gonna make, you understand. And a couple of the requirements for, you know, things in facilities, we are barely in compliance. But we're there. So I recommend that we pass Division 22 so we can move forward.
All right, that's a motion. Approve the standards as outlined. And I'll compliance with them.
I move to approve Division 22 standards as presented.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I have to apologize in the next part. My ethics got in the way. I should have just kept my mouth shut, but the MODOC tuition reimbursement. When we got the contract, Ann gets there and reads it, I read it, and it says on there, I'm paraphrasing, but it says, any student IEP expenses will be covered by the host district, by the resident district at full cost. And I didn't feel I could do that to a colleague, even though he's in California, it's a he, that I picked up the phone and called and said, hey, we have some really high needs kids coming here from MODOC. And you need to know that, because if we have a one-on-one aid, we're talking $80,000, $90,000 up to $100,000 extra. And I didn't feel that was right to send a bill. I wanted to know so that way he can deny it or whatever. When I did that, that's what happened last time. They pulled it, they went back, they went to the board. So what the agreement said, as you read that, it talks about they will give us the regular set of $9,000 something per child. And then they have the state, the California resident piece, which is $7,000 something.
$508.
Yeah, for whatever that is. So if you take that money, that's what we'll get for some of our high needs kids. I had a hard time turning back 16 kids, or is it 14 kids? 14 kids back because of we're gonna break even, we're not gonna make money on it. You know, now we can get high cost disability for Oregon, we can't apply for that. Last year we got 35,000 for that. So we'll get some of that back. I just had a hard time. Now, next year, we're gonna hit on this real early in March and say, hey, you know, we gotta get this changed. This is how much these kids have cost us. They're actually costing us more money than you're giving us. We can't do it. But I have a hard time sending a kid back in November. And I can't send one kid back, I have to send them all back. Can't discriminate. So I want the board to know right up front, I would still do the same thing again unless the board told me not to. I still would have called him and told him that this is a big blank check. I think you better look at this. I wanted him to be aware of it. In Oregon, the laws were clear. Not only are we aware, we would have to pay it if we went to another district. But California doesn't have that same requirement. Questions?
You're on top of it, so I appreciate it. I mean,
Yeah, but it's.
knowing the years before, we never collected above and beyond before.
No,
And we probably had students
We had 5 students who were.
in other years, so we've caught it now. I think this is actually positive for moving forward in years to come. Especially with not knowing where, ahead of time, that we're gonna ask for more.
But I wanted the board to be aware of all the facts, not just part of it.
Does Calvary get weighting like we do?
No.
They do not get like special ed weighting, small schools weighting?
They get sped rating, that's at 7,000.
Oh, is that's it?
That's it.
So 7,000
7,508.
7,508
per kiddo
per kid, that's sped,
above what they get?
above the normal amount, yeah.
Oh, it's better than nothing, I guess.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah, so if there's special needs is minimum, that covers it, but if you have somebody who needs one-to-one,
Big.
it's
I
not even.
I don't even know if $7,000 would cover a kid for a whole school year.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a speech kiddo.
Well, and also to the issue of sped, California sped has also what they call a substandard support.
Yeah.
So that automatically gives them a whole different funding system for every school district. So like their speech path and all those are paid for out of California fund, not out of the district.
Oh.
So, I'll need a motion to pass that if we can.
As interstate student attendance, is that what we call it?
The MODOC tuition agreement? Yeah.
I move to accept the MODOC tuition agreement.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion approved.
So the next one is the gaming club. I remember this wanted to be just the, wanted to be Dungeons and Dragons, but they have revised it to make sure it's all gaming. Yeah. I thought it was pretty well done. Covers all the requirements.
Sports, or is it
No, it's a separate one.
different?
Yeah, because they'll play in person, they'll do both. Yeah. They actually have a hybrid.
They don't do this during school, do they?
Pardon me?
They do this during school?
No. No. Great question. No. We are not allowing this to happen unless it's during lunch. They can't, they do play during lunch.
Can I ask if you would be comfortable telling us about it? You don't have to if you don't want to.
That's why I'm here. Great public school.
Yes, this can go on your record before I try my butt first.
Okay, so the original intent, as he said, was it to be a Dungeons and Dragons club, and that's where most of the rules and bylaws are set. But it does have the ability to expand into, like, as an example, allowing a bunch of people to play Catan and do it under our banner.
Which is fun. Yeah.
It is. I own one of my own, and that's the point. I don't have a whole ton to say. If you have specific questions, I would love those.
Well, the bylaws though allow you to expand and fit the needs of a growing thing. So like when you do graduate, a new group might come in with a whole new game, maybe a game's not even invented yet,
Yeah.
what they want to play.
So this would be kind of like an after-school club?
Yep, that's the intent. After school or
Before
like
school, you
lunch.
guys play before sometimes.
Yeah.
Been in their lunch, yeah.
Do you do it from home too?
I play outside at home and such and online, but the primary intent is at school or getting people in contact with people who enjoy this. Because I had that difficulty. I wanted to learn this game, but I had no resources. So I decided I'd make some.
But also like Phoenix Talent has a club like this would be one of those things down the road, I wouldn't mind driving the group over to Phoenix Talent to play with them.
Do they have, I'm truly curious about this, Oren, do they have competitions?
Not for Dungeons and Dragons or anything. This would be holistically non-competitive. That like the most that you could do is like maybe Magic the Gathering tournaments, but even then that's not the intent. It's friendly play, meet people in a safe place who enjoy the same things you do, so you can build that community.
Just one more option for our students.
I think it sounds like a fun club, Oren, and good job for you and your friends for putting this together.
That's the whole.
Well done.
Did you get to use this whole thing?
No, I saw that last year, but that was not what I used.
I just wondering. We heard that a club used it to.
Any questions?
No,
Good job.
I vote that we approve the Lakeview High School and Daly Middle School gaming club.
Second.
Club.
So it has been moved and seconded to approve the club as presented. All in favor?
Nice job, thank you. And, or you don't have to stay, you can go.
It's been a long day.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, consent agendas, page 75 there. Entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, all in favor? All right, announcements.
We have a lot of things moving to next month, so, and we're back to the 13th, remember, the second week. So that'll be right after OSBA conference, and I'm gonna ask that we put that on record next month. So Amanda and Molly can both present, and myself. Does that work? And OSBA update. So next month we'll have Will Cahill, Rule, yeah.
Just let us know.
We have it, okay.
All right, and
And
so we'll list.
one thing, Ms. Shine, I want to point out.
I know there's no hope.
Okay, wanted to make sure. It's
I
all.
noticed.
Okay,
It
well,
might be cold. We're just wondering just in case.
Did we have any public comment or old business that we have to do?
No, that's why we skipped over. Anything else there?
No, sir,
Okay,
that's all we got.
before we get to adjourn, I did want to just share one quick letter that I got from CASA, or the Coalition of Oregon School Administrators. Mr. Carter was nominated for the Superintendent of the Year and ended up finishing second in that running. And I just wanted to recognize you and again tell you how absolutely thankful I am that we've had you as our administrator, for these, years that we've had you. And, within 2 years, we'll have a decision to make, and it's, be a tough one you could go, but, just congratulations to you on that.
That was a nice
I
surprise.
thank you for, for continuing to be with us.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Other than that, we're to adjournment. So,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all right, all in favor?